7 force field. Don't worry. I'll break you out of there. Glad I could help.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Michael Trim Show. I'm your host, Michael Trim. Today is May 16th, 2018, and we are going to be covering Operation Crossfire Hurricane. Well then, what do we have here? Crossfire Hurricane. Anybody else see that in the news today? I thought it was pretty big news. Should be right at around an hour long for the broadcast. So I think that some people may be reporting that there's a disruption in the broadcast. If that's the case, then I apologize. But I don't think that there's a problem right now. But anyway, let us begin. Yeah, so no one is alone in having issues with the stream. That was because Wirecast decided to just start dropping all of the stream packets that it was sending. So, I don't know. Censorship in all forms. It's rampant. It's like rabid. It's out of control. Let me get this screen configured for us so that we can begin breaking down some Q posts. Here we go. Voila! Briefly disrupted, but we are good to go. Alright, so thank you everyone for being on this live stream. Please spread these links out, share the word that the broadcast has begun, because we're going to be analyzing some new Q posts and getting a whole bunch of insight into what will be happening next. So, just as a heads up, I am running quite low on the For Humanity bumper stickers. I've got probably 20 of them left. So I was actually surprised at how much these have actually gone. People like them. So I will probably be ordering another batch of them so that I have them in stock. But these bumper stickers are a way to make your awareness of the QAnon movement something available outside of the internet, so that we can actually, where we go one, we go all. So with that being said, let us go straight to new Q posts, because that will kind of set the stage for how this broadcast is going to move forward. So with that being said, I'm going to start actually with a post from last night that we covered towards the end of the day, and it said, "Did you catch it? Speech. What NYPD detectives were 187 mid-2017. So, Officer Familia. Godspeed, Patriot. We will never forget." I thought this was interesting because during the speech, Terrence Williams actually brought out a clip that was really interesting, and it was right here. This is Terrence Williams' Twitter account. Why isn't this trending on Twitter? I don't see this in Twitter Moments. And so the black woman right here is Officer Familia's mother, I think mother or grandmother, probably mother, and her children are standing right behind her. So this lady, and then there's a boy and a younger girl. And President Trump spent quite a bit of time during this entire event dedicating time to the family of Officer Familia. And what QAnon was referencing beforehand was, did Officer Familia see what was on the insurance file? It was right here. Did they view the insurance file that General Flynn warned us about? And there was actually an exchange. So the police officer here has a note in his hand, and he's going to very under the radar just hand it to Donald Trump. So I wanted to raise your awareness to that so that you could see it. So let's watch that.
So I promised I wouldn't tell you that she's 90 years old, but you know what? She is really something, right? You look like...
Their typical policy of silence, but interviews with dozen current and former government officials and a review of documents show the FBI was more than circumspect? I don't know what that word is. Let's look it up. Nah, it doesn't let you. It's not letting me do it. In the case that has been previously known, many of the officials spoke on condition of anonymity because they were not authorized to discuss the investigation publicly. Agents considered, then rejected interviewing key Trump associates, which might have sped up the investigation, but risked revealing the existence of the case. Top officials quickly became convinced that they would not solve the case before Election Day, which made them only more hesitant to act. When agents did take the bold investigative steps, like interviewing the ambassador, they were shrouded in secrecy. Fear of leaks, they kept details from political appointees across the street at the Justice Department. Peter Strzok, a senior FBI agent, explained in a text message to the Department of Justice officials, who would find it, quote, tasty to resist sharing. "I'm not worried about our side," he wrote. Only about 5 Justice Department officials knew the full scope of the case, officials said, not the dozen or more who might normally be briefed on a major national security case. The facts they have surfaced might have devastated the Trump campaign. Mr. Trump's future national security advisor was under investigation as his campaign chairman. One advisor appeared to have Russian intelligence contacts. Another was suspected of being a Russian agent himself. Oh, gosh. In the Clinton case, Mr. Comey said he erred on the side of transparency. But in the face of questions from Congress about the Trump campaign, the FBI declined to tip its hand. And when the New York Times tried to assess the state of the investigation in October 2016, law enforcement officials cautioned against drawing any conclusions, resulting in a story that significantly played down the case. Mr. Comey said it was unfair to compare it to the Clinton case, which was winding down in the summer of 2016, with the Russia case, which was in its earliest stages. He did not make any political considerations about who would benefit from each decision. But underpinning both cases was one political calculation. Mrs. Clinton would win and Mr. Trump would lose. Agents feared being seen as withholding information or going too easy on her, and they were worried about any overt actions against Trump's campaign that would only reinforce his claims that the election was being rigged against him. The FBI now faces those very criticisms, and more. Trump says he is the victim of politicized FBI. He says senior agents tried to rig the election by declining to prosecute Mrs. Clinton, then drummed up the Russia investigation to undermine his presidency. He has declared the deep-rooted cabal, including his own appointees, is working against him. The argument is at the heart of Trump's grievances with the federal investigation. In the face of bipartisan support for the special counsel, Robert S. Mueller III, Mr. Trump and his allies have made it a priority of questioning how the investigation was conducted in late 2016 and trying to discredit it. It's a witch hunt. Trump said last month to Fox News, and they know it, and I've been able to message it. Congressional Republicans, led by Representative Devin Nunes of California, have begun to dig into the FBI files, looking for evidence that could undermine the investigation. Much remains unknown and classified. But those who saw the investigation up close, many of whom have reviewed case files in the past year, say that far from gunning for Mr. Trump, the FBI could actually have done more in the final months of the 2016 to scrutinize his campaign's Russia ties. What Russia ties? They haven't named a crime. They haven't named a crime yet. They're just saying, oh, you know the Russians, so we're going to indict you. You can't be president. You know the Russians. Doesn't work like that. Sorry. Doesn't work like that. At all. So, I never saw anything that resembled a witch hunt or suggested the Bureau's approach to the investigation was politically driven, said Mary McCord, lying 20-year Justice Department veteran and top national security prosecutor. During much of the investigation's first 9 months, Crossfire Hurricane spawned a case which has brought charges against former Trump campaign official and more than a dozen Russians from a company that doesn't exist at the time that they claimed that it was meddling with the election. But in the final months of 2016, agents faced great uncertainty. But the facts and how they respond. And so the second half of this and the remaining pieces of this, I'm not going to go into too much, but we're going to skip down. The FBI's think crystallized by mid-August after CIA director at the time, John O'Brennan, shared intelligence with Mr. Comey, showing that the Russian government was behind an attack at the 2016 presidential election. Intelligence agencies began corroborating to investigate that operation. The Crossfire Hurricane team was part of that group, but largely operated independently, 3 officials said. Senator Marco Rubio, Republican of Florida, said that after the studying the investigation, the members of the Senate Intelligence Committee, he saw no evidence of political motivation in the opening of the investigation. Not going to worry about what little Rubio has to say. But there's Andrew McCabe. Remember, Andrew McCabe's Office of Inspector General report that came out said that the principal assistant, and that's a repeated message of QAnon. They've said that multiple times. But let us proceed. So this link here is from the failing Washington Post, from Jeff Bezos. So Jeff Bezos is contributing to disinformation by trying to say that a Central Intelligence Agency employee, software engineer, Joshua Adam Schultz, is being accused of leaking Vault 7 to WikiLeaks, but they have no evidence. Just like with the phony Russia conspiracy, they have no evidence. There's no evidence. Yet they're going to lock this guy up into prison, and they're going to say, well, we're going to hold you because we think you did this. It's like, come on, where's the evidence? You have this multi-trillion-dollar mass surveillance system. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence? You have no evidence. Can't indict me if you don't have any evidence, but they can keep you in prison for as long as they want. And so I think it's kind of interesting because what they're trying to do here, it looks like, is they're trying to persecute this guy under public opinion. That's a character assassination. And of course, WikiLeaks doesn't discuss anything about their sources or methods. They wouldn't even state anything about Seth Rich. They would comment, they would point people to it and like, oh, look, these people think that Seth Rich was the source. Because it had WikiLeaks on it. Not because Seth Rich was the source that they were confirming. They don't confirm their sources or methods. But, with that being said, this guy here, what is this? What is this? Schultz is in Manhattan jail on charges of possessing, receiving, and transporting child pornography, according to an indictment filed in September. He has pleaded not guilty. Why would... In documents, prosecutors alleged they found a large cache of child pornography on a server that was maintained by Schultz. He had argued anywhere between 50 and 100 people had access to that server. Was this server for CIA use? Was this server used for official government business? If it was, what were they doing? Is this different than the child pornography on the computers of Pentagon officials, 5,500 of them, that Anderson Cooper broke down and exposed? Or what about NASA? Is it similar to the child pornography on the employees' computers of NASA? I don't know. I'm asking. Prosecutors waited 6 months to bring child pornography charges. If this guy was a pedophile, if this guy was actually into child porn, why did they wait 6 months to charge him? Why? How corrupt is the FBI that they wouldn't indict somebody for possession of child porn, but instead wait 6 months? Why? It's disgusting. This one here I thought was interesting. Speaking of child porn, staying on subject. This was the Hollywood Reporter. Remember, Hollywood's going to tell you about Allison Mack. Hollywood is going to tell you the truth about Allison Mack. Not the Michael Trim Show. Hollywood will. Holly Weird will tell you the truth about Allison Mack, not Michael Trim. Okay? This is what they want you to believe. Holly Weird, Pizzagate is real, will tell you what Allison Mack's deal was. And of course they show the brand right on her head. Keith Raniere, it's actually backwards. Her darkest role, actress Allison Mack's descent from Smallville to sex cult. And of course, like many in Hollywood, Mack sought to seek spiritual guidance outside of the mainstream. But, throughout this entire article, it doesn't mention child sex trafficking. It doesn't mention child sex trafficking. Her official indictment from the Department of Justice, justice.gov. Link is right here in the live chat for you. She is indicted on 18 U.S.C. 1591, A1, A2, and B1, which is child sex trafficking by force, fraud, or coercion of victims under the age of 14 years old. And Hollywood Reporter doesn't mention anything about trafficking children. It just talks about what this cult did in terms of spiritual development and branding, and Claire Bronfman being part of it, Seagrams being part of it, how she was a star of Smallville. Absolutely disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. How they branded people and, she was released on $5 million bail. First exposure to Janessa's Women's Empowerment Seminar. Was this women's empowerment the similar type of women's empowerment that Eric Schneiderman had? Where he was beating his girls, beating them senseless, calling them his brown slaves, forcing them to call him their master? And of course we got a Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan sent this letter out. The Honorable Donald J. Trump. So thank you, Jason, for that super chat. You have a choice to do what is right. Q. Mr. President, we write to request that you exercise your authority as President of the United States to instruct Attorney General Jeff Sessions to immediately produce all documents requested by Congress relating to our investigation of certain prosecutorial and investigative decisions made by the Department of Justice and the FBI in 2016-2017. In May 2017, Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein informed Congress that the special counsel's investigation should not impede ongoing congressional investigations. Additionally, Mr. Rosenstein requested that congressional efforts coordinate with the Department of Justice. In the year that has passed since the commitments were made, the Department of Justice has failed to fully comply with regular and repeated congressional requests and subpoenas. Our power as Congress to conduct investigations is broad, inherent, and mandated by the Constitution. As a separate and equal branch of government, we have a constitutional right to these documents. To complete our independent oversight and investigative duties, we must obtain all documents responsive to previous requests by Congress. This includes the documents relating to potential abuses in the FISA Intelligence Surveillance Act, the FISA Court. All documents related to the FBI and broader Department of Justice's initial investigation into the Trump campaign prior to the appointment of the special counsel, and the unredacted 2017 memo written by Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein that articulated the scope of the special counsel's jurisdiction. The Department of Justice has obstructed congressional oversight by refusing to supply necessary and relevant documents. As members of the legislative branch, we believe that the best course of action would be for you to exercise the powers vested in the executive to make the documents we require available to Congress. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Mark Meadows, Jim Jordan, Ron DeSantis. Members of Congress. Boom. That was pretty big. And of course, we have why was Peter struck in London for Comey and Operation Hurricane? And Q says SIS, Signals Intelligence Service. And here we have Jim Jordan, another post. Let's pull this up right here. So it's high time for transparency. The DOJ and FBI have continually and repeatedly thwarted the congressional oversight. We're asking Donald Trump to direct the Attorney General to give us the documents because the American people deserve the answers. So let's like that. I'll paste the link down into the live chat so that everyone else can like it and share it to prevent it from being shadow banned. In fact, I'm going to retweet it right now. Let's continue. And this I thought was kind of funny. Look at this meme. Let's just move her head over and like, holy shit. I think this is from Jurassic Park, isn't it? Isn't this meme from Jurassic Park? Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe somebody in the comments would be able to let me know. But new eyes joining the fight queue. Those with an agenda to silence will fail. Pain coming. Q. So, InfoWars and Jerome Corsi are on an agenda to silence the QAnon movement by calling it KGB Russian disinformation. Pain coming. Is this pain coming to Alex Jones? Watch, he's going to call me a puppet of Soros. You know, Corsi's going to say I'm a puppet of Soros. Alex Jones is going to say I'm a puppet of Soros. They're going to be totally traitorous. Totally traitorous. But let's move on. My computer is just ungodly slow right now. I don't know if people noticed the live stream yesterday, but if you were watching it after the fact, the audio seemed to be disconnected for like 30 seconds. So I'm going to end up re-uploading that video tonight. I always record locally on the computer, but if you're noticing the same issue with this, it's because this Mac Pro is still being used and it's still super old. The laptop is being used for rendering the shorter clip of the videos, uploading them constantly, making them available in multiple formats and stuff, adding them to multiple channels. It's much, much faster on that. But I haven't switched the workstation over because all of the cameras require special ports and hubs and everything, and I haven't made the investment into those yet. But soon. It'll happen soon. It'll probably be over the summer when that happens. So here we have another Q post. U.S. History, ABCs, SIS, Signals Intelligence Service, FBI, to CIA. Did the covert counterintelligence branch of the FBI end, or was it expanded into a new agency? Double meanings exist. SIS is good? UK to US. US to UK. Interesting. So this here, Anon says, you asked us to follow the pen. Why is everyone trying to establish this with the letter? Shouldn't we wait until it comes out? The report. And this right here is an image connecting the Trump tweet, a rigged system. They want you to turn over documents to Congress. What are they afraid of? Why so much redacting? Why such unequal justice? At some point, I will have no choice but to use the powers granted to the need to be part of this. Other people. In order for it to be justifiably $500 million, you need to say, okay, take down the entire pedophile ring then. Take down the entire ring. Indict all of those fuckers. Get rid of them all. Why won't we? Vance, thank you for that super chat. School could be free. Corruption everywhere. Learning is free. Open source information is free. This channel is free. You don't have to pay money to go watch my videos. You don't have to pay anything to see my content. You don't have to pay anything. You don't have to pay for books. You don't have to pay for magazines. You don't have to pay for any of that. It's all free. The future of education is open source information. The best information wins. Competition of ideas. Competition of free speech. Allow the best idea to flourish. Instead, you have liberal universities, you have corrupt universities who cover for these pedophiles who are raping and abusing their students. They're students. The university brings in these students, and they're raping and abusing these students. And what happens? When the guy gets caught, he gets sent to prison for a few hundred years. Not strong enough. Death penalty. Not a strong enough conviction. Death penalty. Why are we wasting more taxpayer money on this fucker? This guy is a piece of junk. He's a... Yet we have to pay $500 million in their settlements. People who are thinking about going to school at Michigan State University have to pay towards the $500 million settlement because Larry Nassar was sexually abusing hundreds of victims. Hundreds of victims. And you're telling me that none of those victims said anything. None of those victims went to other administrators and said, this guy's a pervert. This guy is abusing me. What if they weren't allowed to? What if the minute they did say something, they would be cut from the team, cut all communication off, sent a cease and desist letter, say that it's defamation, that it's inflammatory, that they're accusing something that's not real? What if that was the tactic that they used? That blocked these young girls from actually asking for help? What if that was what if that's what was happening? It is disgusting. These people are sick. Thank you, Jason, for that super chat. Let us raise our frequencies in love, hope for others, forgive those who have been harmed. Help another see above your great plateau reached. Your greatest plateau reached. Jack, a friend of mine. Where we go one, we go all. It's a good one. Yeah, that's good. Next. Justice is coming for these pedophiles, folks. Justice is coming. It needs to be swift. Manhattan DA says he'll stop prosecuting pot possessions. Huh. Now that we have Eric Schneiderman, an abuser of women, out of the Attorney General's office in New York, now Manhattan all of a sudden, I'm guessing this is out of New York, even though it's the Seattle Times, is going to start, yeah, it's out of New York. They're going to stop prosecuting pot possessions. Ending the opioid crisis is legalizing marijuana. That's how you do it. You want to save trees, you want to reduce carbon emissions, you want to fix the planet that way, you want to reduce greenhouse gas effects, what you do is you legalize marijuana. You say every single person, okay, grow marijuana. Okay? Here, we legalize it, grow marijuana. And these plants, they take like 4 or 5 months or something to grow. I mean, just hemp. I mean, if you're just using it for like paper and stuff, they take like 4 or 5 months to grow. And the yield is massive. Massive. Yet we insist on using trees. Why? Why? Don't allow it to happen. We, the people, are stronger than the corrupt politicians who have been so evil and so corrupt for so long. We need to actually start talking about these real solutions. Real solutions to understanding the fact that we're stripping down rainforests, we're stripping down forests all over the place, we're deforesting the earth. Why? So that we can build homes, so that we can build print paper, so we can have toilet paper, so we can have printing paper. Why not replace it with hemp? Why not replace it with hemp? I'm just asking a question. There have been no deaths as a result of marijuana. Crime rate in Colorado has dropped. They have a surplus of access to funding. They gave their teachers raises. They were able to work on public works projects. Crime rate went down. Their prisons aren't being filled up. It's working. Now let that winning streak go to the rest of the country. I mean, start it down. I mean, really, it should come down to states' rights. The federal government should have no involvement determining marijuana or the legalization of marijuana or anything around that. They should totally be out of that ballpark. Completely out of that ballpark. But they're not. But this is good news. This is good news. Manhattan DA says he'll stop prosecuting pot possessions. That is good news. It's good news. Because the other thing is, I want to kind of point this out to you. This was something from Candace Owens. I believe it was Candace that was saying this. I don't remember exactly when it was, but go check out her stuff. If you haven't watched Candace Owens, subscribe to her things, watch her videos, watch her interviews. She is a brilliant, brilliant woman. She's absolutely smart. She's super brilliant. She's a free thinker. She's a free thinker. And the